How's everybody doing today? I am so thrilled you are here. Folks, it's going to be a good one. I have got a powerhouse, not one, not two, three experts who are going to talk to me, a chief marketing officer. Did you know I'm the CMO at Agorapulse, the industry's most prolific, impactful, compelling social media management platform? That's the end of the infomercial. They're going to give me advice today on how to assess AI's value for CMOs. All right, so this is the drill. Normally, I would be paying these people millions of dollars an hour. That's how talented they are for their consulting advice. It's a recession. I don't have millions of dollars an hour. So we came up with this concept of let's just have a fake webinar where they think they're giving a CMO advice, and I'm going to learn from them. So that's the premise. Play along with me. Now, if you didn't see the invite, I got to give it. I don't know. I suspect my content team was using some AI when they wrote this. We're just going to highlight a few of the teaser bullets that were in the landing page, okay? And you tell me what you think. Rumor has it that top performing companies are more than twice as likely to be using AI for marketing. So, number one, are you now more than twice as likely to be using AI as you were, say, a year ago? In one of Adobe's latest digital intelligence briefings, top companies were 28% more likely to be using AI compared to just 12% for average or lower performing companies. Are you right now going, oh, damn, I'm probably around 10%. I must be a lower performing company. That's okay, brothers and sisters. That's why you're here. We're going to teach you. It's all good. Besides using ChatGPT for content creation and ideation, the top dogs are leveraging a whole bunch of AI tools. Yes, we're going to talk about some of the tools that our experts are suggesting we consider, but we're setting you up. That conversation is going to be near the end. Why, you ask? Because you want the answer now? That's how we make you listen to everything we're going to say. So that's what's going to happen. That's the teaser, so you figure out what tools to use, all right? How are people using it? Well, they may use it to unearth consumer behavior patterns, fine-tune their ad spend, deploy chatbots for around-the-clock customer service. Lots and lots of applications. Now, if you're me, you're a CMO, you're asking yourself the following questions. And by the way, not only have I asked myself this, my CEO, my board, and my investors have asked me this. So can you relate? You're asking the questions, can I use AI to reduce my staffing or my outsourced contractor spend? That would help with our EBITDA, wouldn't it? That would be good. That would increase my return on marketing investment. Or better yet, maybe another angle, can I use AI to have my team be more impactful? Maybe with AI, instead of manually editing a video like this, I use AI and it sniffs out 4, 5, 6, 7 compelling snippets in seconds, as opposed to my editor going through it hours at a time, which means they can now do more video editing because they're way faster than they were before, or I could just use less of their time. What can I do on AI to improve the impact of marketing? Will I increase my conversion rates? I don't know. Let's find out. So that's what this is all going on. Can I use AI to make my project management tool, which most people internally hate, just, because they're tired of always being pinged. You're late. You haven't done this. Will AI help me out? I don't know. Can I use AI to identify when my employees are slacking or underperforming or my benchmarks aren't doing well? Can I get alerts in real time as opposed to waiting for finance to get back to me 45 days after it happened to tell me that I have a problem? Ooh, this is what I think. This is how I want to know. So if you're like me, I've got a panel, and let me bring them up to you now. We have, in no particular order, the following rock star experts. You will know most of these people, if not all of these people, by name, by reputation, by legendary status. I am humbled to be with them today. Katie Richmond, Ann Chang, and Jeremiah Augang. Now, Jeremiah told me to say that confidently so that you didn't discern if I butchered his name. He's cool if I butcher with his name, but I need to know in the chat, how confident was I? Did it sound credible? Folks, Katie and Jeremiah, how are you doing today?
Great.
What's
This is
up?
fun.
Doing
I love to
great.
lead in.
I'm
All right, so
confident that
folks-
you're confident.
Yeah.
I like that. So let me set the stage here. Okay. So this is what I learned in the green room before we went live. Katie is in a broom closet. We like to say a former
Yes, I
broom
am.
closet. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Move this. It's not going to go well if I try and move it.
There we go. Anne is the quiet one of the group and is in a room with some good reverb. You may detect it when she speaks, but she's the quiet one, so she claims. And Jeremiah is hiding from his twins who are loud with his work from home Airstream in his backyard with very cool lighting. And we're all, I think, jealous of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
So you now are up to speed with what we've come up with. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing, I'm just going to throw it out there to open it up. I'll start with you, Jeremiah.
Yep, let's go.
I'm a CMO. How should I be using AI? What are the questions you're getting asked on a regular basis? And what are you telling people that if you're not doing this, you, my friend, are a loser?
Well, I've got 3 ways, and there's no CMOs that are losers. And I am a former CMO, and I know many CMOs. I work with CMOs. I have a 3-part answer, but I'll be brief. The first 2, 1, you've been using AI for years. We've been using machine learning. We've been segmenting customer data. We've been using algorithms to determine how content's going to show up. So it's not that new. But this latest blend, generative AI, is something different and it's something new. And essentially, most repetitive tasks indeed are going to be automated. When it comes to anything that requires human analysis, that is often going to be automated. And so those tools can do it cheaper or faster. But that doesn't mean you should get rid of your staff. You should just make them more productive in most cases. The third point, which I want to talk about later, I believe AI is going to be extremely disruptive to marketers. And I want to say why, but first we should just talk about the tools. So I'll bring that up later. Back to you.
That was good. Okay, Katie, I saw you nodding your head a lot. So I'm going to go to you, which means I'm going to leave it to Anne, the quiet one, to really bring us home. All right. So no pressure, Anne. She's automatically thinking, oh my God, what can I add to these 2 incredible people? Katie.
Well, probably because I come out of left field sometimes. So this has been a perfect lineup because I work with senior executives and make this stuff tangible for their businesses. So that's sort of where I'm coming from a lot of the times. I'm doing hands-on every week as well because I have a blog called Tech Normal, and it's really just about what can you actually do with this stuff. And it's the most surprising thing, I'll go with that I've found is the strength is creative brainstorming, which you don't think computers and creativity ever, but this is like honestly what I'm seeing. It's the meeting before you meet with your staff. It's the generating ideas before the pitch meeting, all of those things. Which I think doesn't kill your creative staff. It actually just turns them all into editors. So we can talk about that more later, but it's creativity. That's the biggest thing.
Creativity. All right. And no pressure. We're all waiting for that incredible boom statement.
Yeah, so I think, a lot of people are talking about AI, but they're mostly talking about generative AI. And there's the 99% of AI which is being left out. There's a lot of advanced analytics that you can use. If you had predictive intelligence or digital twin, you would be able to, know exactly where your business is and what you need. And that can go a really, really long way in terms of business planning, automation, and no, you don't need to fire anybody. It's just supposed to help everybody do better. I was working with a manufacturer and they had 60-year-old machines. You're not going to hire this 70-year-old guy to just look at the machine, whether it's moving in the right direction. AI can do all that for you. So not just from a CMO perspective, but from a broader perspective, depending on what kind of company you are, what kind of CMO you are, what do you take care of? The applications are endless for AI.
Okay. The one thing I will share with all of you, and would love your reaction to this, was my team, and not just my team, actually, I would argue many people in our overall corporate organization, there were some serious concerns. Let's go with that. Concerns, fear, apprehension about how prolific AI has become in 2023 and how it has become such core to what we're doing already. ChatGPT, of course, being I guess the poster child for that transition. And many were wondering if it would impact their jobs, if there would be layoffs, if their particular skill set, their trade, if you will, that they brought to the table would be eliminated. And my response to them, I would love to see if you agree, do you disagree, have a different point of view, was, listen, I have white hair, and this means I've been through a few decades, and I've seen so many transformational technologies come in and impact us. And all it does is it doesn't necessarily get us out of work. It doesn't eliminate our job for the most part. It changes our job. Exactly, right? It changes our job. So maybe instead of me now, writing copy, maybe I become really good at prompting ChatGPT to give me, good research or good copy. It just changes how I do my job. It doesn't eliminate jobs. Have you seen that concern expressed by other marketing teams? And if so, how have you responded? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. And you're nodding your head. Yes, I'll go to you first.
Yeah. So I was giving this talk a couple of weeks ago, and somebody asked me, "Is AI coming for my job?" And I said, "Yes, it is. But remember that it's going to come for the job that you have today, freeing you up for the job that you have to have tomorrow." So AI is going to be part of your evolution, and it's going to be part of the revolution. AI is coming for the jobs of people who don't use AI, if that makes sense.
I like that.
It does.
Agreed.
It does. And Katie, what about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like the biggest way to dispel fear, and this is what we usually do, is just side by side getting your hands on. I find ChatGPT to be the easiest to just sort of understand what you're dealing with some of the generative AI stuff, as far as, the brainstorming goes and some of the creativity work. But sitting down and here's the biggest hurdle, is getting over talking to a computer like a person. I think that is just, we've grown up.
Yes.
We're generations deep of Boolean search and Google search, right? And learning how the structured language of computers, even if we don't code, we are doing that. And so we kind of have to dissect that and start talking. It's embarrassing at first, like literally talking to a computer, asking it if you should approach things this way or that, feeding it data about your team. And then the more you cultivate that like relationship, the more it becomes like an assistant. It's like a secret weapon versus someone that's going to come and take your job. Superpowers you.
It's so funny you say that.
And I'm an optimist.
I feel like, I agree with you. I look at I'll use my poor wife as an example. My wife is not a technologist. All right. She's an incredible person, but technology is not her friend. So we complement one another. But I see her use a tool like Google search, simple example. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you're getting a million results because you just don't know how to use a tool. Step out of the way.
She might be fabulous with this tool now.
Exactly. But I can use all the advanced, Google search mechanisms that are, parentheses, pluses, et cetera.
And all those that are more technical, right? We can structure our language in it, superpowers ChatGPT and speak to it in its own native language. And
that's what it's becoming.
Yeah. People that are good at convincing humans of things tend to be really good at ChatGPT, but it's getting those people the confidence to get hands-on with these tools, to realize that this is going to make them, they're going to be on top again in business.
I recently, and I would love your thoughts on this one, Jeremiah. I recently spent a week at our corporate head offices. We're in Paris, and we were doing first half of the year business review, and then second half of the year business planning. And as you do when you do these conversations, you're doing much, hypothesizing. And what if we did this, and what if we did this, and yada yada yada. I was in ChatGPT nonstop, using it to research stats, research total addressable market, research personas, research ICPs, research my buyers, and I don't think I went into Google once.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
let's talk about that.
That's how it's changed for me as a CMO. It's a great resource that way. Are you seeing the AI become a domain in the whole corporate executive boardroom, for lack of a better? for lack of being clear?
A little bit. I think other people in the organization are going to use it more heavily. So just for some context, I'm not sure where everybody lives, but I live in Silicon Valley, and there are 3 AI events every night in San Francisco.
Yes.
And 2 on Saturdays, 2 on Sundays on average. I have a personal commitment to go to 3 AI events per week, and I do. And I just pick up one new AI tool every week so I can make sure I stay current. And I'm also teaching my kids who are younger. We do it together. I don't let them use these tools unguided. So I'm very committed to this and ensuring that, I don't fall behind. I want to be in front. For sure, and I want to just say this gently, jobs will be lost due to AI. There's no way to sugarcoat this. Jobs will be lost, but also new jobs will be gained. New jobs will be created, and that's also wonderful. But every job will be impacted. Well, people say, what about plumbers? Oh, no, they're going to use AI as well to be more efficient. They'll have augmented reality glasses and can pull up manuscripts. But guess what? So can homeowners. They can pull up and do simple, basic repairs. You may not call a plumber as often now if everybody can do home plumbing because they have AI to guide them. So everybody's going to be impacted by AI. And I think that's something that we need to prepare for. By the way, next time, Daryl, here's a tool that I recommend. Use Perplexity instead of Google search. I was with the CEO last night. Perplexity, I don't know if you guys have tried it. It's really cool. The CEO said, only speak of what you know. So they really do not want to have hallucinations. In fact, when you do a search term, next time you're doing TAM for a market, Daryl, you'll see it actually pulls in the sources it cited, and there's a link to it. And then it recommends in a conversation, here's the prompt that you might want to ask me next. So it's already better than GPT. It's already better than Google. So, Google is in trouble. So Daryl, I would love to talk about why I think this is so disruptive to marketing, was my third point, which I was kind of leaving everybody hanging. Is it okay if I go through that real quick?
My brother, there is no script here. Go for it.
Yeah.
But then I want to hear from Anne and Katie, who their amazing perspectives. So I think it's baseline that marketers use AI. If you don't, you're going to fall behind. I think the experts here in this room have already laid that out, but I see a big disruption coming, in particular to Google and e-commerce. So there's another AI out there called Pi. It's made by a company called Inflection, and they were just funded earlier in July $1 billion. The backers include Microsoft, NVIDIA, Bill Gates, Eric Schmidt of Google. Whoa, okay. Why? Well, it's a personal AI which will talk to you, right? GPT is more for work. Now we see it's basically, imagine if Siri grew up. Now, here's why I believe this is disruptive to marketers. Eventually, consumers are going to talk to these tools to get information. Like Daryl, you said that, and we're also talking about how we're using that, like Katie was talking about, for creativity. So at the upper part of the funnel, we're using it for awareness and needs gathering, right? And then we're going to move into the consideration set, and the AI is going to recommend products. You can go to Hey Pi right now, like Hey PI, and you can ask it, what type of car should I buy? What type of clothes should I buy? It'll actually recommend specific brands and products. We don't really know where the data comes from. The next phase, of course, is there's going to be e-commerce embedded in these apps. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that consumers are going to go to AI to make their buying decisions. They won't go to Google at all. They don't even need to go to Amazon. There is a massive disruption coming to marketers who are not paying attention to AI. This is more than just using the tools. All right, I said my bit. I would love to hear from smarter people.
I want to jump in there, but then Katie and Ann, you can jump in or cut me off. It's all cool. You have triggered something that we've been having conversations internally on about how much more time, what's the shelf life, shall we say, of our SEO strategy, because people are not necessarily going to be going to Google anymore. So how do we ensure that the recommendation engines like Hey Pi, for example,
or GPT,
are aware of us?
Perplexity, any of them.
Perplexity said are aware of us. How do we feed that beast? Is it a content play? Is it a review play? Is it I'm getting in bed with a G2? Like, what's my strategy here to make sure that I versus my competition am more brought forward? I don't know the answer to that one, But that's the very conversation that we're struggling with right now, because we know it's just around the corner and we do not want to be so far behind that we can never catch up again.
I pass it to Katie and Ann. I'd love to hear the smart people.
Well, I think this is a really interesting question, and it's something where we have our large language models on the back side, but then we have the front ends, right? And how different front ends are operating in different ways, right? Their temperatures are turned up or down for creativity, on the nose, focus, that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be a lot of us learning from the front ends how they're weighting content, because these are recommendation, right? I mean, like, it's similar to recommendation engines in that way, in that it's all edges and nodes, but they're crashing together new items, right? So it's sort of, we still have to understand under the hood why content's being served to the top for that user. And at this point, we're still dealing with a lot of black box on things. And so I think some of this is going to be staying very close, especially to big tech, as they are building their front ends to understand what's powering those front ends. And I don't know if you have more than that to add.
Yeah, so I think a lot of big tech is actually layering what we call pixels, right? So every interaction that we have with any sensor, whether it's a device, whether it's a browser, the way we consume media, the way we live online, the way a refrigerator knows exactly what's in it. Literally anything that has an internet connection today is collecting data about you, and that's your input information. Now, what HeyPi is trying to do, I suspect, is shorten the funnel from discovery to transaction. So by collecting data from pixels, from sensors, from internet connections, from, that's why you have your Google, your Fitbit, and all these large big tech companies investing into it. It's simply because they have data, but they haven't learned how to shorten that funnel. And then as CMOs, we got to start thinking, okay, how does this impact us when the funnel is getting shorter? What kind of information can I use to really create the kind of outcomes that I want? So I did a little bit of studying on behavioral economics and why do we do what we do? Is it a part of nature versus nurture? How do our friends influence us? How does the 7 different hats that we wear on a daily basis influence the behavior that we take across, a variety of transactions, whether B2B versus B2C, professionally versus personally, in a social setting versus in a family setting. So this information is all being collected anyway. There's work being done to cluster B2B data and B2C data. So for what it's worth, if we as, marketers want to get ahead of the game, the first thing you need to think about is, how do I jump onto a much shorter funnel? Is it good? Is it bad? I think it's good. It's going to save a lot of money in marketing spend. So but at the same time, the reason why Google and these big tech guys are investing into it is simply because with a shorter funnel, they need to ensure that they own the funnel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I mean, that's the only thing I would add to that. And I think this is good, sort of playing off of that. And
No.
we understand big tech, Google and Meta, pretty well on how they're pulling results, right, from when we search for things. So I think it's going to be a combination of making sure your data is structured and up to date for those front end platforms, whether that's Meta or Google. And then understanding, and then it's like a human psychology and behavior thing, because the questions that I would ask are not the same questions. I would ask, for someone like me, I need running shoes, but not these or those or the others. And then ChatGPT comes back, and then I have second and third level prompts back where I say, no, I tried Reeboks. Those are not any good. I liked these Asics, but they don't make them anymore. That's not something that you can really Google search. That's more of like a conversation you'd have with an expert at a store. Those are the sort of things that I think humans, like normal people, are going to be using this stuff for.
So that's where, to build off these great points, I agree with all of these. So that's where Pi and Claude, which is another one out there, and then GPT, and then Google Bard, and Amazon's going to have Titan. Plus, Salesforce has got Watson, and apparently Apple's retooling Siri. So there's going to be over 10 quote private AIs out there. Plus, there's going to be open source ones where brands create their own that will go and interact with you. So every marketer within a few years will have their own LLM, whether they plug it in from one of those companies I just mentioned, or they use something that comes off the shelf from Shopify, or they build their own with open source. There's like 3 routes you can go. So what I see happening in the future is that, Katie, we would have, like for the shoes example you gave, we would have our own agent that will go shop for us. And that agent will know your preferences and your color. What is your athletic preferences? You know, your shoe size.
And then when the Amazon data frees up, right? Shoppers like me, right, have in the past liked things like this. I'm assuming is the way that will come back.
If you choose to have it go shop for you and then negotiate prices. But marketers on the flip side, Daryl, back to your question as CMO, marketers are going to create these AI agents to go talk to the buyer side agent. So that's the answer to your SEO question, by the way, is marketers must fight fire with fire. SEO as we know it is going to be dead in a few years. But if you create autonomous agents to go interact with the buyer side agents like Pi, Inflection, Bard, then that's how you get your content optimized for the AI. So it's AI engine optimization. I just made a buzzword on a marketing
you did, but
podcast.
Don't you think that today,
like
search engine
optimization?
Yeah, but like structuring your data to work with Google is probably the best thing you could do today, right? To prepare your data, your structured data for the future.
And I want to thank you for, Katie, your pragmatism, because I tend to look far in the future, right? That's
right.
I was a Forrester analyst.
I'm a short range person.
Yeah, no, and we have a wonderful balance here. I'm an investor, so I'm looking further out as a Forrester analyst. I was looking forward out. So, yes.
And my goal is just to get people going, to get their hands on this, and not make it so big that it seems untouchable, like we did with big data and everything else. You know, it just makes it seem hard. It's not.
So there's two things I want to bring it back here on the CMO topic. We have, how do I put this? In the near term, in the short term, we have this instinctive, reactive inclination to say, how can I implement AI now across my workflows, across my campaigns, across any research I do, market research or otherwise, across my content creation strategy, etc. But the bigger question, and all of you have started answering it, and Jeremiah just created a whole new category called AI engine optimization, was I had a single question as a CMO, and I'm loving how much you guys answered it. This was my question I had written down. How will my customers find me if they're using AI? That was my question, right? Because I rely upon Google and SEO. I rely upon paid ads. Yes, I rely upon dark social and referrals and word of mouth and all that other kind of stuff. But I mean, these are things that I can explicitly control. So I want to explore both sides. I want to explore the near term and the more longer term. Jeremiah, you talked about the smart CMO is going to create autonomous agents to interact with those
in the future, yes.
Other AI engineers. Yeah. So
yes, in the future.
Does that exist today? Is that something that I can do?
No brands are doing that right now. So if you want to try an autonomous agent, everybody who's listening, you can go to Agent GPT, just, search for that traditionally, or, using AI, Agent GPT, and you can spin up your own. You don't need coding skills. It'll do it for you. And eventually there'll be versions, of course, where brands can do that as well. And consumers will do that. So we'll all have these little bots running around serving us in an autonomous way. So that's coming.
But all
and it's coming
our bots
fast.
are kind of dialed differently, right? So everyone who develops that bot or front end is going to say, this is a creative bot. So I juice this up. It's going to give you creative, hallucinatory answers.
I like that.
Of times versus I'm going to dial this down to logic. It's going to be adjacent to a Google search. And I think that's what's making this, not to complicate it, but it's really hard to do SEO when you have all of these front end platforms dialing things different ways. And so that's why I was saying staying close to Google and then thinking like people think, because these things these large language models and the results we get from queries are really trying to predict what humans have searched before and what we've put on the internet. So if we rip away all of these technical details and just think how humans think, I think that's probably the closest to replicating the answers we're getting back a lot of time. But it's largely a black box.
So I want to drill down here a little more. So CMO asking the next question. Okay, so I rely on SEO at whatever on today. Mm-hmm. We know AI recommendations, a variety of options that you've all shared here are the future. Get that. We talked about autonomous agents like Agent GPT, which I have in front of me already, looking very cool. You've just killed my weekend. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Rabbit hole.
The other thing, I just made reference, I made a passing reference to, and there's dark social and word of mouth and referral. But the reality is that is also a huge traffic driver for me. For most organizations, direct traffic, which is usually the dark social, output, is number one or number two as far as, traffic to your site. So, and a lot of that is done by social media, right? Whether I am promoting this webinar, or I'm promoting a podcast, or I'm doing a little clip of something that Katie said and it's compelling and it hooks them. And then, that's how it happens. So how does AI influence my social media, my awareness, my thought leadership, my word of mouth strategy? Yes, I am leveraging everything you're saying here. And it's going into my plan for second half of this year. So go ahead.
I want to challenge an assumption that websites in the future will even be relevant.
Oh, I agree.
What do you mean by that? I'm curious.
If tomorrow's consumer is getting information from an AI, who's their trusted resource, they'll serve it up in the way that the consumer wants it served up. And the text will be scraped and provided in the way that they want. It could be read to them. It could be an avatar of somebody.
We lose control of that part. It's the user will be making these choices on how they want to receive the
now, yes, of course, every proper brand is going to have a website. But I'm just saying that strategy of forcing customers to come to your site and you measure success based on the top of your funnel by traffic, I want to challenge that assumption versus like we saw this with social media. Like we had to shift to influencer relations to get people because people trusted their peers more. And therefore influencers. So I think that's going to shift where we add in a new influencer. It's AI. That's kind of the big message. But I feel like I'm talking too much. Like Anne is really smart. Come on,
Anne, give us something. You've got an opinion. You're the quiet one.
So I'm still gonna be the quiet one because I'm the nerd. But when I first launched my earliest AI tool, we called it cognitive intelligence, right? So it's really understanding why people do what they do, as I mentioned. Yes. And I think one of the first things that I learned was people need information served differently. Now, AI hasn't learned that yet. So AI has learned a lot of input about, the brands, their websites, how is it being communicated? A lot of brands are speaking in a very mass market way, but if you want to speak to me, you got to tell me how it works. I'm a very process-driven kind of person. And I'm assuming that a lot of us are very different. Jeremiah, you might be a very data and factual person. Give me statistics, ROIs, IRRs, and I would be on your game. And Katie, you might be a person who's more like, who else is using?
Story driven. Yeah.
So if you've gotten like Venus Williams or Serena Williams writing a review, you'd say, okay, I'm setting up. So, but brands today just go, this is what we do. It's very, there are no stats, there are no processes, there are no, some of them have influencers and promoters. So I think what will happen in the future, and this is me going into my technical crystal ball, it's really about positioning it, AI learning how to position it to the right people in the right way. So from the interaction we have with AI, right now it's just speaking in its own voice. But when AI can speak to me in a process-driven way, saying, and you asked this question, what sneakers should you buy? When assessing the value of a sneaker, you should pay attention to these factors. I'm on it. Tell me where to pay, literally.
Yeah.
And that's largely why I really suggest taking your non-believer hat off and just treating it like you're talking to a person. So you wouldn't go to your wife or your mom and be like, sneakers, 7 medium, women's, You know, like you don't. That's not how you talk to people. You say, hey, you know a thing or two about sneakers. I'm a runner with like 20 miles a week, you know, and you go through who you are and what, because a person couldn't help you without the context. All the rules about talking to people, I think, apply to at least talking to a ChatGPT right now. Bard feels a little different. It feels a little more googly to me. But with ChatGPT, it's like, assume it's an intelligent person that just doesn't know yet what you're talking about. And how would you ask that question if they were an expert?
Okay. Let's bring it back a little more pragmatic, a little more short term for the next, say, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
For the next 6 to 12 months, as a CMO, in your opinion, and I'm going to go back to Anne first because poor Anne, she's been so polite. So I'm going to let her talk first. What should I do as a CMO to benefit from AI so that I or my team are more successful, more impactful? How do I bring it in and make it part of the fabric?
Yeah, it starts with business priorities, right? So I think, the easy way with when you talk about practical is, use a NLP-driven large language model, which will help you to, suss out your strategy. But really, if you look at the long term, you need to start planning today. How are you going to implement, different types of technology? Because the one who doesn't innovate is going to be left behind. So I would say, depending on what your business priority is, if you're trying to add new, top line numbers, then look at what are the opportunities that you want to go into and how you're going to incorporate different new technologies, including artificial intelligence, into it. If it's about reducing costs, then look at your process and learn about process automation, digital twins, computer vision, stuff like that. These, alongside all your LLMs, are going to help you in artificial intelligence or even technology adoption.
Katie, what about you? Short term, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
How can I incorporate AI?
Okay, so there's two big things I think right now. One of them I've talked about a few times, and that's about getting your hands on these tools. As a CMO, not your social person, they too, everybody, getting your hands on these tools, telling your teams it's okay, right, to explore with ChatGPT, tell them what not to do, which is like feed your proprietary competitive internal data into it. It's more like, instead of keeping everybody from using it and giving it just to your social person or something, tell everyone that they should be using it in the next 6 months and what not to do. And that's really simple. You just don't feed all that stuff in. Just most people would know not to do that. I'd say, though, on a technical side, we're going through this thing right now, and I think most people are aware, where there's a lot of closing of what was open data, right? So all these web crawlers are crawling Reddit, right? And now you can no longer crawl Reddit. We'll come to find out that's about 20% of what we crawl on. Google's caching that much of that. So as these things are swinging shut, I think thinking about how your data can stay open to being crawled is probably pretty crucial, and making sure that, everything that they have, like an alt for an image on a website, these are all what gets crawled, and, SEO people know all of that. So making sure that you have descriptions for your images, this is just a logistics thing, and that your sites are very crawlable, or your whatever you have technically is very crawlable. And then getting a hands-on experience and just using this for things like brainstorming. Just what Anne said, if your goal is, 10% growth, or to outplay a certain customer or hit a certain dollar amount, I think you back out of that and then think in your head, what does that mean for you as a CMO? And then maybe the thing that's keeping you back the most is meetings, and you address those meetings by using ChatGPT as an assistant, or maybe it's for creative brainstorming, pitches, that type of thing.
Wow. Each idea you just gave there would be like a little 5 or 10 minute how-to video on its own. You could monetize that and just send me a small affiliate fee. I'm okay with that.
Heck
just,
yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Love that.
I want to share something, but before I do, I want to give Jeremiah a chance to answer the same question. Then I want to share some feedback. So again, 6 to 12 months, Jeremiah, near term,
Sure.
What can we do to make our lives more impactful on the marketing side?
Yeah, so I would encourage your teams to start using these tools. I've met some agency executives who are building some prompt guides to make sure that when content is created, it's within the brand voice, or the images are created within brand style guide. So that's something to try to perfect. So in fact, Coca-Cola did a campaign like that, and all the generated images were within roughly the brand view. There's a bunch of tools I'd recommend for marketers to use as well. Sorry, I got to clear my throat.
That's okay. All right, so I'm going to tease you and hold that thought, because that's where we're going next. That was a big carrot that we gave her at the start of the show. What I will say is this: I actually went to my team building, and I think Katie, you might have mentioned this. I went to my team and I said, I went to my content team. I went to my my multimedia team, video, podcast, etc. I went to my demand gen team. I went to my social media team, and I said, I need you to go outside. I need you to go, not outside. So I need you to go out and identify 3, 4, 5, 10 tools and evaluate them and come back to me and tell me which tools we should invest in. The objective here is we either want to make you more efficient, more impactful.
Love that.
That's what we did. And they were like, okay, yeah, no problem.
And it involves your team, and then everybody has a stake in it, and you're building.
You would think so, right? So a month later, I go back and I said, okay, what's the word? And like, oh, haven't got to it. We've been so busy. And I'm like, guys, this is not optional. Go do it. Wait another 2 weeks. Come back.
I like though. You're pushing people to try.
I know. And candidly, like I'm being selfish. Like I use the example of video. Video is just a simple one, right? If I can go and if my video guy can go and identify 3, 4, 5 clips from this golden piece right here within, minutes versus hours, then I can selfishly have my video guy cranking out a whole bunch more great content at no additional cost. Right? That's
something similar to what you said that I've done with teams is everybody goes and finds a use case, and then you use your weekly meeting, and 10 minutes of your weekly meeting are tack 10 minutes on. And that person's like, well, I'm a videographer, so these tools are what works for me, or I'm hands-on visual, so I do these. And I found, or even just I'm going to the front end of ChatGPT, but I found this way of prompting that is really tricky and will get to your point a lot faster. And then sharing all of those in like a bucket together, but having everybody have a stake in it, like you were saying, Daryl.
I love the idea of the kind of the show and tell. Okay, guys, here's an AI tool I found. Shared amongst the whole team.
Confidence too.
Well, I look at for a company like Agorapulse, we're a global company. We have we do half our business in Europe and half our business in primarily North America. And you look at the Germans versus the French versus the UK, the Brits versus everybody else. And there's different use cases, different requirements.
That's right.
So,
even in your own team, right?
We don't get exposed to all the same tools. So by doing this is fantastic. What was interesting was the results of that. And fundamentally, they all came back. And out of all of that, we might have found 2 tools that we adopted immediately. The rest was this. That was, it's interesting, it's good, it's almost there, but it's not quite there. And
depends
that was
what
the
you're using
reaction
it for.
from my team. I get it. I totally
That's
get
exactly
it.
right.
Yeah, it totally does.
Not right there
all right.
for certain things.
So CMOs, I love lots of great practical ideas. We've talked big picture. We're talking, how your customers are going to find you in the future if SEO is dead. Talked about using the tool to help you do your business planning and everything else. Generative AI. Talked about what to do in the next 6 to 12 months. What you can do. Okay, but this is what you've all been waiting for, and it is because you're all too busy to go look for it online yourself. So. Jeremiah has been teasing us, and every single one of you are going to get a chance to share.
Yes, sure.
Jeremiah, what are some tools that I should be checking out if I'm in a marketing organization?
There's a lot. So for content for marketers, rather than use GPT, you could use writer.com, which is team-based collaboration, including with agencies. Also see copy.ai and, oh God, what's the other one? Can't remember.
Jasper.
Jasper. Yeah.
Jasper, right.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 in the writing space. But of course, it's going to be native to Microsoft 365. Right? It's coming. So to create presentations, I've used beautiful.ai.
Yeah,
you put in a text prompt. Yeah. What did you think, Katie?
It was a little more than I needed. I like to be more hands-on, and I wasn't willing to cede all that control. That's what I thought. But
yeah, I'm with you. But for somebody who doesn't have that ability,
you can
use that.
Right.
And there's another one called tome.app, which is similar. So those are 2 competitors there. If you want to create videos, I've experimented with OgX Labs. So you put in a text prompt and it creates a video and it selects some stock photos. It's an interesting first phase. It needs work, but I can see where this is going. There's so many. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many. By the way, there's over 5,500 AI projects out there. So and there's going to be 12,000 by December. So you name something, like it's there. But anyways, that's my first start.
Okay, so before I give everybody else a chance, this is where I blatantly do another infomercial where I say, if you need AI for your social media purposes, Agorapulse has got a built-in AI writer. You should check it out. Boom. And over to you. What are some great, compelling tools that we may not have brought up here that we should check out?
I'm going to do a shameless plug. So Supercharge Lab, which I'm the founder of, we created Segment AI, and Segment AI has all that automation for your SEO. It's done content generation, video generation, and content generation in multiple formats, whether for ads, for blogs, for technical white papers, even for user manuals. We've seen a whole bunch of that. We also do SEO automation, SEM automation, and even things like analytics for performance marketing using multiple models, including your A/B testing, multivariate modeling, and marketing mix modeling. So that's a shameless plug. Personally, I think in terms of image generation, some of the better ones out there are not based on Stable Diffusion. So I'm sorry, but you know what else is out there? I don't need to scream Midjourney or Canva AI, which are really, really big today in the market. But yeah, there are a lot of video generators coming out that listen to the music and optimize your videos. It's amazing these days, So it even suggests, the right music to put onto your video based on, the twirl of the girl in the video. It's amazing. Like, how does it do that? So yeah, we're building our own video optimizer AI as well, alongside a bunch of other marketing strategy AI, which will kind of blow some of the current SEO, SEM players out of the water. So yeah, back to you, Daryl.
That's huge. Okay, Katie, I don't know if there's anything left for you. What do you got for us?
There is tech normal,
Cool.
baby. So no, basically this is what I do is I work with, and I'm going to approach this a little differently, not in the what tools to use on the front end, but offering up a tool of just like education. So this is what I do with teams as I work with a lot of CMOs or C-suite leaders and their teams to explore how to put different AI things in place based on the team. So, with video teams, we might look at editing tools. With copywriting teams, we look at front-end copywriting tools. But to your point about your team saying it's not quite there yet, I think a lot of us that are professional content creators or have a background, right? I came from ESPN and professional broadcast work. It's really hard for me to cut a video with words and go with that. I think it's a really good tool for creators right now and people that are not professional, but some of us are working on the professional stuff. It's a great assistant, and I think it's these are great brainstorm tools or for first cuts and first drafts.
Awesome. Okay, so we're basically out of time here, folks. This has been like an incredible dump of information. We've been future looking, we've been near term, and we've been immediate. Your challenge is use AI. I love the advice you had here. You need to use it. End of story. And you need to embrace it. You need to let your team know that their jobs will change. They may not be doing tomorrow what they're doing today, but that's okay.
Right.
And it's just, and by the way, this is what happens on a regular basis. I can tell you, having been around for a few decades. So all good. Anne, you've already done a shameless plug, but this is your chance to do another shameless plug. What's the best way to get a hold of you? And if you could convince our audience to invest in one thing to make their life better, and it can be your offering, what would that be?
I would invest my time in having a chat with someone on my team, just to explore where you're going in the next 12 months and how you can get that using artificial intelligence. Find us at superchargelab.com.
And what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, it's on my website. There's a link to just book a calendar invite. It's all on my website.
Love it. It's all right there. Now, just don't forget, though, Anne, websites may soon be a thing of the past. So just have a plan B.
I know.
Katie, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll this time I'm just going to say I have a blog called Tech Normal as well, and you can find me on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/in/Katie Richmond. And you'll find my blog. I just posted one today, for example, about, we're all going back to conferences. How can you preset your net? Because our networks got blown to pieces during COVID, right? No one knows where anybody is and all these layoffs. So how can we reset and rebuild our contacts using ChatGPT and a little bit of forethought? So that's just an example, but I try to make these things really practical and tangible. So checking out my Tech Normal blog on Medium.
Ah, there we go. That was the Tech Normal blog on Medium. That was the piece I need to know, because
Yes,
I've been Googling Tech Normal.
/@Tech Normal. Yeah. You'll find my
There we
business
go.
number.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. Jeremiah, last word today, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I learned so much. What a great group. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my DMs are open. And I'm going to be hosting events for senior executives on the topic of AI business. And if you work at a large corporations, I might invite you to some of those events. So let's have a chat.
There you go. All right, folks. With that said, we are basically out of time. Did you have fun? Did you get value? We hope
of course.
We did.
We hope you did.
I did.
But we're not done, because it's all about the value. So we have a wonderful ebook for you. If you want your organic social media to be more impactful and prove it, so you can get bigger budgets, more staff, everything else, check out this ebook on the screen in front of you. And by the way, if you want to see the AI writer on our platform in action, check out this link in front of you. In the meantime, my name is Daryl Prale. You can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Daryl Prale. But most of all, these people are really smart and you should follow them. We hope you had fun. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.